Right, on this video we're going to look at tying a standard dry fly. We're not going to tie a specific pattern, just go through the process because it's the same. Lay a bed of touching turns of thread. I far prefer to use fine thread for most of my flies, but particularly dry flies. Stop just short of the bend of the hook. And we're going to tie in some tail fibres. In this instance we're going to use Coq de Leon fibres. Remember, with a standard dry fly, pinch and loop the fibres in the right place and adjust the length. You want them about the length of the hook shank, and then tie them down firmly. And you can trim these fibres off now. Just to make it complete, we're also going to add a ribbing to this pattern of some light mylar. So we're going to tie in some mylar, pinch and loop again. Keep it in place, secure that with a couple of wraps, and we're going to build a body of some fine black superfine dubbing. This is artificial dry fly dubbing. It's extremely easy to work with, and it gives a very smooth finish compared to natural furs, which is particularly good on smaller dry fly patterns. I'm going to build an abdomen along the hook shank like that, trapping in the tail fibres as I go to a little bit short of the eye of the hook, and then we're going to rib the body with some mylar, just for the sake of being complete. I actually don't rib dry fly bodies very often, but it does add a nice touch to them. You notice I'm a little bit far forward on the hook because I actually want to tie the hackle in and wind backwards until I get to the point where I'm going to wind the hackle. And it's approximately, I'd say, a quarter of the hook shank. And then I can trim off the tag end of the hackle. Then something you don't see very often, but I think it improves the dry fly tremendously, is I'm going to put a little tiny bit more dubbing where I'm going to wind the hackle, and it just finishes the fly off better than winding the hackle on bare thread. Somehow or other it just looks a bit skinny otherwise. Take the hackle pliers and wind the hackle. Again, avoiding the camera here. Trap the hackle and tie it off. 2 or 3 wraps of thread. And clip out the stalk. Once you've cut off the tag end of the hackle, just stroke the hackle fibres out of the way with your fingers. Neat whip finish on the head. And pull tight. There are a couple of little fibres here that aren't behaving. We're just going to cut them out when we cut the thread out. There we go. And there's a pretty standard dry fly. Simple, wingless standard dry fly. I do think this little bit of dubbing that you put underneath the wrapping of the hackle does improve the look of the fly. I also tend to under hackle my flies slightly. Some people would tie them longer than that. It's a matter of personal preference. If you're tying flies for fast water, you would probably add a bit more hackle, cover a bit more of the hook shank. But that's the process of tying a standard dry fly.